Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest edition of HFS's Unfiltered Stories. I'm Sam Duncan, I'm the practice leader at HFS responsible for driving our enterprise blockchain coverage. We recently published, sort of November 2025, our enterprise blockchain services Horizon. As part of that study, we identified EY as a Horizon 3 market leader. And as a part of that, I'm excited to say that today we're joined by two of their leaders, Clare and Paul. I'll let them both introduce themselves, and maybe if we start with Paul, if you want to do a quick intro and maybe tell us about your t-shirt and why you're always wearing jazzy shirts too.
Thank you, Sam. So yes, I am Paul Brody. I am the global blockchain leader at EY. Until Friday afternoon at 5 p.m., I'm actually out. I'm on my way out to start my own blockchain technology company. I think the T-shirts they started during the pandemic because they could. This is all that somebody could see of you. So I was like, well, I should make it entertaining. And this is actually one of my favorites because people are always saying that like crypto's going to the moon, and I'm like, if I'm going to the moon, it's as a chubby unicorn on a rainbow jetpack. I am super excited to be here because I'm so proud of the work that we have done for the last 10 years. And I'm especially proud to be here with my incoming replacement who deserves to introduce herself, the amazing Clare Adelgren.
Thank you. Wow. Hi, Sam. So good to see you again and really good to be here today. Yes, as Paul said, I am the incoming global leader for blockchain for EY. But I also have been, and for the last 4 years, have been leading our operations and all of our sales enablement globally for everything that we do in blockchain. I was also interim head of engineering. So I've been part of this team and part of our mission for a long time. Super passionate about what the work that's been done over the last 10 years. And I know that we're going to talk a little bit about that later today. So really good to be here today.
Perfect. Thank you both. Sad to see Paul you're leaving, but it's great. Claire, you're in great hands. I've worked with you now for I think a couple of years. So always good to know passing the torch to the right people. So from an HFS perspective, we do our blockchain horizon. I think it's every 2 years. And we typically look at how the market's evolving. We speak to a bucket of enterprises in the space. We learn how they're using the technology, what their challenges are. And then part of that, obviously, we identify which services firms we think are sort of leading the charge. And I think you'll both agree blockchain has been a unique market, right? We saw a lot of hype sort of 2017 to maybe 2021, 2022. It died down pretty dramatically. I think a lot of people said, oh, blockchain's dead. No one's doing it anymore. And I think it just wasn't true, right? So it was a really interesting report this time around. And what we found really was the sort of smart firms, they didn't stop investing in blockchain. I think they just got a lot quieter and they got a lot more focused. And today, I don't know if a comeback's the right word for it, right? But it's almost, we're seeing it sort of step back up and we're seeing a lot more sort of targeted use case that are driving real business value. I think, the two that come to my mind right now, stablecoins are really hot at the moment, tokenized real world assets, things like that. And so my first question for sort of Clare and Paul is blockchain sort of finally boring, but in all the right ways? What's your take on the market today?
Yes, it is. It is exactly that. It's gotten boring in exactly the right ways. I used to gather with some of the other folks in the industry and who said, what we want to be is boring. And boring doesn't mean bad. It doesn't mean slow. It means that you have found this like well understood operational use case where there's a clear value proposition and you go from there. And I think a lot about, I think a lot about the technology history. We had waves and waves of growth. And every time we have waves of growth, whether it's in blockchain or with other technologies, there's always this initial hype cycle. And then there's this like disappointment because it doesn't do all the things you want. And then one at a time, you come out of this trough with good, compelling use cases. Stablecoins just happens to be the first one, but it's a tsunami that's coming for, I think, every B2B transaction in the course of time.
I've no, that makes a lot of sense. And then, so I think, we did the study in 2023, we did it in 2025. I think when we looked at 2023, a lot of our sort of conversations with enterprise will look like the board don't want to invest in this anymore. Our CEO is looking at AI, right? And so we saw a bit of a slowdown. A lot of people walked away. And from your perspective, what sort of, from an enterprise perspective, driving the turnaround?
So this is actually a really interesting one. And Claire and I both have some perspective on this because we came from IBM, which is a company that pioneered so many technologies. And one of the biggest dangers for companies that tried too early before the thing was said is that they come away with a lack of success. They then proceed to learn all the wrong lessons and never try again. And so, we saw that IBM made the first smartphone. they could have stuck with it, but it was just much too early. And the important thing I think for people in these enterprises that have tried it before and didn't have success is to remember it really is different now, and this is a normal pattern.
Perfect. And then looking more specifically at the engagements themselves that you see with these enterprises, I think we always track how many are sort of piloting proof of concepts, how many are in production, and the key theme, honestly, until the 2025 study was this sort of proof of concept theater, right? This slideware for the board and things like that. But when you actually dove into the data, for a lot of sort of cases, it was sort of 10% of engagements are in production, maybe less. What are the key traits from your perspective that drive an engagement beyond that and to this real business value? And as always, we'd love to hear a real world story if you have any.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what we're seeing right now is that what is moving through to production is really everything that's about trust, reconciliation, auditability. And it doesn't actually matter whether it's tokenized instruments, whether it's payments, whether it's operational reconciliation between counterparties. I think the key difference is that what you're seeing is these controls, privacy, and integration are being designed in from the beginning, which makes the whole package infinitely easier to productize and be able to move through to production. Um, and a really good illustration of how that market is moving forward. I mean, we can talk a little bit about the funds chain initiative with World Bank. I think last time we met in person, actually, Sam, when we were together was like early last year, right, in Amsterdam. And the funds chain platform, which is designed for creating end-to-end traceability of project funding for the World Bank. That was in POC. We'd gone through POC and it had been tested out. Come to the summer last year, we started to be able to roll out through to production. And that's ongoing and it's well on track. And I think it's a really good illustration of something that's gone through that whole journey.
No, perfect. I think honestly, the more and more examples we have in the world of these production, real world value adding use cases, and the more people will realize that blockchain is very much alive. It's becoming part of, sort of the core enterprise infrastructure in some cases, right? So that makes sense. And then diving into EY specifically, right? I mean, as you know, we ranked you as a Horizon 3 market leader in the study. I think when I look at why we did that, right? I mean, I personally covered EY since I think 2018, 2017. And Paul, you were very passionate about public blockchains, Ethereum being the answer. That's played a key role, probably proven quite correct in that sense. And as a key part of that, you've drove so much innovation across the market, not just for yourselves, but you've put it out there. And you bring the ecosystem together in a way that really puts you apart. I think, the end of March, I think you've got your blockchain summit in New York coming up. So from your perspective, what sort of positions EY uniquely to sort of push those engagements through, deliver that value with blockchain?
I actually think you've hit the nail on the head, actually, Sam. I mean, EY stayed consistent, and consistency matters. In any emerging market, consistency matters. And we've been consistent for a decade now with privacy first public blockchain. It's an incredibly consistent mission statement, and we've done that delivering as a full firm. So engineering, risk, audit, tax, compliance. We've been very, very consistent in having that theme as we've gone through and we've approached what we do. And you will know as well that a big part of that is actually taking the time to actually build out our own assets for clients, but also to really put our arms around and think about what's needed to be able to achieve the right type of privacy for our clients. Um, our edge is definitely there, and I think it's in the consistency. But what the consistency allows you to do is build our expertise. And so I honestly actually think, and your study actually highlighted it, we're unique in the position, especially amongst our closest competitors in the Big Four, in terms of the depth of our expertise and the breadth of our expertise that goes across all aspects of what we do. And we're able to pull it together, and we're able to pull it together and deliver it for clients as they need it, and as they're evolving their own products, and as they're evolving in this new space.
No, 100% makes a lot of sense. I think the one thing that stands out to me every time I talk to sort of both of you and wider team as well when we meet up is holding that sort of core vision and belief for such a long period of time, the consistency. It means you've got complete buy-in from everyone you work with, right? And you speak to your team at these events, and they get behind it, they support it, and it brings with it, like you say, that deep technical expertise, the sort of.
Yeah, you mentioned the summit. The summit's coming up in March. It's 24th, 25th, 26th of March, and it's going to be in New York this year. But I got to say, we probably said it every year, but I genuinely think this year actually it's going to be one of our best. It's a different format once again, as you would expect for the market, and as we're meeting it, it's going to be a full 3-day in-person event this year, and we're partnering really closely with the Ethereum Foundation, with the DRC, to really bring together all the minds that want to collaborate and cooperate and build together, to meet the demands of the market today. So we have a full day of regulatory discussion, a full day of privacy, because that's really top of mind right now.
I don't know. It sounds really exciting. And as we come up on time, I think a quick fire question. I don't know if both of you maybe want to answer this one. Is sort of one key takeaway for the enterprise listener listening to this now. Sort of what should they remember about EY and blockchain?
So you are what you do. Like if there's been one of the conversations, and it was funny, Sam, you said, I'm sure everybody has buy-in. That's not guaranteed and it's not universal. EY is a partnership. We have lots of people with different points of view. We've had big, long, contentious meetings about what we should be doing and whether or not, for example, when certain private blockchains were hot, should we be doing them? And, should we do something because there's short-term money in it or because somebody offered us a pile of cash to build on that particular platform? And very consistently, I had been against that on the grounds that you are what you do. So if you do something, even if it's for the short term, you are building expertise there. You are losing your kind of brand clarity and messaging and vision. And my message for enterprise users would be set aside the very tactical inducements, set aside also the considerations about which platform seems niftier or not, and think very strategically about what is the problem that you're solving. This is one of my favorite sort of business models, which is what's the job to be done, and what is the most widely used platform? Not the perfect platform, the most widely used. And then you will conclude it's probably going to be, if you're starting out, it's going to be stable coins or tokenized assets on Ethereum.
Okay, no, that makes sense. Clara, I don't know if you have anything you want to add or.
Wow, I don't, I actually not. I'm a strong, strong, strong believer in the point that Paul just made around be really, really clear on what's the business outcome that you're looking to create, and come and talk to us about it. I think there's an awful lot of people out there that can help guide you and have discussions to help strengthen and make those ideas more robust. But business value, thinking through the business case, this is what any investment is going to look like for your business. It's no different.
Makes a lot of sense. Perfect. I think it's a really exciting time for the market. Honestly, I love covering it. I love covering it for such a long time, and I really appreciate you both joining me today to talk about it, talk a little bit about what you guys are doing at EY. And Paul, best of luck for the future. And to everyone listening, I encourage you to check the description, check out our Horizon report, go have a look. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, guys.